This leaves 16 feet of back end to the head pin. And I don't think this is the German girl's favoured lane. So the ball just holding all the way to the spare. That's on the oil. So she starts off with the spare.
Yeah, scored 181 in game one, which was on this lane, to Van der Meer's 244. Took game two with 203 to Van der Meer's 194, much tighter on the right-hand lane. Now, Van der Meer was terrific. Struck out in the first 4 frames in game one on this lane. Can she start with a strike again, as she has done in the previous 2? Oh, no, she can't. It took a little wobble, but she has left up a spare.
Yeah, the wobbling 2-pin, and you can see how the bowling balls are not breaking as early as on the right-hand lane. They're holding their line, so both players are playing a bit tighter, a bit closer to the centre of the lane, rather than trying to hook it back on a long oil dressing. Hard and straight for the spare.
No mistake. We have seen a few mistakes on single pin spares from Purpler. She missed 2 in game one, and also in the foundation 9th frame in game 2, which we thought at the time, Cass, was going to cost her, but ultimately didn't. Yeah,
she's I'm not quite sure whether she's brought her A game to this Masters final. As I say, she's averaged 216 over the 24 games throughout the week in doubles, trios and team. Picked up a couple of silver medals. But when it comes down to singles, you're all on your own. You're in front of a big Dutch crowd, and you're on national television with a pair of lanes that are dressed differently. How much harder can it be?
Oh, a whole lot harder.
Well,
you just answered your own question. Goodness me.
She's gone higher through the head pin. And she's left the 6 and the 7 pin, which is a massive split. Which, well, 20 to 1 shot maybe. It needs to get the ball really wide, and it's just not gone wide enough, has it? Open frame in frame 2 for the German girl. And unfortunately, these open frames are becoming all too familiar with her.
They are. That's her 5th open frame now in the final. She's had 2 in each of the previous 2 games.
I've got a feeling she actually might be able to confirm it next frame, whether she's changed bowling balls to come back to this left-hand lane, get a different reaction. So Van der Meer straight high through the head pin, but it's a makeable spare she's left. So if she can make it, she'll have an early lead after 2 frames in the final game of this European Ladies Masters final.
Yeah, it's a very straight bowl, that one, wasn't it? Didn't get much movement on that at all.
Well, as I say, the oil in this lane goes down 44 feet, so you won't get too much hook in the back end, or it's not as much hook as the right-hand lane, and that's the way you have to adapt, change your setup, possibly change your bowling ball, and certainly the line that you play on the lane.
Stays clean, though. And 1 pin ahead, but of course with a spare as well.
Yeah, bonus to come on top of that. First ball in the 3rd.
Cannot afford any more mistakes, Purpler.
Oh, crikey, it just held there, didn't it? She was looking for the ball to hook up, and the ball had rotation on it, and it just held out there, did not move at all. Just makes the head pin, can't break up the 2 and the 8 pin. That's what we call the sleeper, and the 1 pin right behind the other. It's quite an accurate shot. She has to cover the pin at the back, which is the 8 pin, with a hooking ball.
Well, she hasn't done it.
Well, unfortunately, she covered the pin at the back, but not the one at the front. So she obviously wasn't listening to me. Unfortunately, 2 open frames in a row, and has Birgit gone? Well, difficult times. If you can't average 216.
Well, this is Van der Meer's to lose now, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Just have to see what she can do. With 2 open frames, she's got a chance to extend her lead. Even by spares, she'd be extending that lead. Again, the ball sailed straight, didn't it? They're not getting the reaction. They haven't got quite the amount of power and rotation on the ball to overcome the oil on this lane. As I say, changing balls may make a difference, but It's line and set up as well.
It didn't look the smoothest delivery, actually. I wonder if she just released the ball a tad before she was intending to.
It's very easy to lose it off her hand. There's so much concentrating to do. It's got to go hard and straight. It just does about, doesn't it? Makes the spare, which is good enough.
It's keeping her ahead 10 pins, but of course, the bonus points to come as well from the spare. So looking good for Van der Meer. Purpler needs to find some strikes.
Well, the coach may well be telling her that if her opponent isn't striking, every spare she makes is a bonus for the Dutch girl.
She's going to be really annoyed with herself, isn't she? 2 open frames in games 1 and 2, and 2 in the opening 3 frames of this deciding third in this final.
She really has to find something now. I think that's another ball change. And that time she makes the pocket and carries all 10. Punches the air with that fist. It's certainly time for a big comeback for the German girl. If only she can maintain those strikes. Steer clear of the open frames. That was a good-looking shot. Striking the 4th frame. But really needs to double that up and possibly go 3, 4, 5 in a row to cover those 2 open frames.
Sophie van der Meer on the verge of something magnificent that I'm sure she didn't expect when she was first called up to the Dutch squad. And leaves the 10 pin.
Well, no, it's a good looking shot, and if that's a makeable spare, that's going to be good. She's got to draw on reserves of, well, not only nerves but concentration as well. As I said, I think it may well be this is the most prestigious bowling tournament she's been in her short bowling career. Comes from a bowling family. Sister Danielle plays for the national side, and that's held on for a good looking spare, and she can breathe again.
Heart in mouth time there for a second, wasn't it?
That was that going in the channel or not? No, it was perfectly executed. And she stays clean, so she's clean through 4 frames. Extends her lead. Look at that. Now 19 pins. Right on the edge, but that's good enough.
It was looking over the whole time, wasn't it? And she put her hand to her chest as if to say, thank goodness.
Yeah, that'll do for me. Pressure time now back on Birgit. She's managed to get a strike in frame 4. She must really double it up, as I say, and go further. And that's just gone well wide, isn't it? Oh dear.
Horrible shot.
1, 2, 4, 6, 10. We saw this in the previous game. I mean, it's just a wild shot. She's fallen off the approach there. Her arm's gone right, the ball's gone right, and it's not going to come back because this is the lane with the long oil on it. And this is more than likely to be the 3rd open frame at the halfway stage, and one would almost say that she's gone. That really was a bad frame for her.
Yeah, just 8 scored. As you say, 3rd open frame from 5. Her 7th open frame in the final. You wouldn't have expected that, would you, from the 3rd ranked player?
Yeah, 3rd ranked in the European Tour. And unfortunately, I mean, her coach must be pretty frustrated. 62 at the halfway stage. Double that up, and it's a 120 game, isn't it?
Takes the pressure off here because a spare will do again.
Yeah, that's the point I've been making. Spares are good. Not a bad shot, made the pocket, didn't carry the 10 pin, but if I can spare it, it's a bonus. I think she's realising, and lots of young bowlers have got to realise that spares can win games, because the German girl is right off her game. She's not making strikes, she can't make spares. Young Sophie here can spare her way to victory. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
And of course the other thing is it doesn't have to be a 250 game to always win.
Well, the way Purpler's going, 200 game will be enough to win. She really needs to put something together on the back 5 frames here. Birgit Purpler.
Well, we said that in the first game. She's got to do something, but she had 2 9 misses in the last 4 frames for a sub 200. This one doesn't, seems to be going pretty much the same way.
Yeah, 1 game 2 with a score of 203. Just 62 scored from the first 5 frames is extraordinary.
Again, she's only just made the headpin. She's standing a bit far left on the approach, throwing, I think, a little bit too far right, rather than straighter. Unless she's forgotten that this is the lane with the long oil on it. She got a great reaction on the right-hand lane, playing wide outside. This time she's playing, well, in several areas and not getting the reaction in the back end that she wants.
At least she takes the spare this time. Hesitate to say I could have given her a game over the first 5 frames. 62, that's amazing, isn't it?
Wayne, it's quite frightening that you're probably right. you could have won by a pin or two.
And that is saying something, believe me.
Well, Sophie's high through the headpin, breaks some pins up, doesn't leave a split, leaves a makeable spare, and hopefully nothing lost. Big learning curve for the young girl here at Tilburg.
Couldn't be set up better for her, though, could it? The home player. She's got all the supports inside the Effling Theatre. And another spare will do. It's consistent.
She's playing the basics. She's throwing the ball. She's not leaving any splits. She's making spares. And she's in the lead. So how bad is that?
6 spares in a row.
As I say, you don't have to shoot a 250 game every time to win. And she certainly doesn't have to, apparently, in this game so far.
Well, she's looking stunned, Birgit Purpler. I don't think she can quite believe how poorly she's played here in this 3rd game.
Well, if she strikes off, she's only going to make 212. And that will be with 7 in a row. Which she can't do because she's just left a ringing 10 pin. She falls 30-odd pins behind now. And we're past the halfway stage. We're in frame 7 for Birgit. 10 pin stands in the corner, and that must be quite frightening, really, because single pins have dogged her game this afternoon.
Yeah, and that really has to affect the confidence, doesn't it? Because that bit of doubt creeps in, even with the single 10 pin, but no mistake there from Purpler. Her strike in frame 4 remains the sole strike so far of the 3rd and deciding game of this final.
Do you think Sophie cares? Not really.
No.
Well, there's 3 big open frames on Birgit's game. Sophie's clean. 6 frames.
Looking good.
Oh.
And she does strike in frame 7.
Well, the roof comes off. Look at this. Crikey. Had enough spares. Let's try and get a strike. And that will extend her lead as well. She's getting really excited. She's getting warmed up. She can almost see the finishing line, but maybe not quite.
As the big favourite at the start of this final. Got something in store, though. She can only strike out and hope for the best. And produces her 2nd strike of this game in frame 8.
Well, it was a great-looking shot. It was a nicely shaped ball, lots of rotation on it. Got to the right area of the lane, got to the break point at the right place, and it just finished fantastic. Shame she couldn't have done it more in the previous 7 frames. Sophie just drying her hand before she puts those fingers and then thumb into the ball. She's working on a strike. This is frame number 8. This to extend her lead.
Can she double up? Oh, it is a double.
It's a perfect looking shot. She's held the lane, held the pocket all the way. And look at the rest of the teammates. Oh dear, oh dear. She is having the time of her life. She will need to certainly get a DVD copy of this final sometime to show her kids.
And what a fantastic end to the week. A Dutch victory, almost.
Yes, Birgit Pupler has just got to